On the other side, on Canada's west coast, a debate is underway to find the right balance between profit and environmental protection. At the heart of the issue is energy. Asia's oil and gas demand is expected to outpace North American markets. So the race is on to ship energy across the Pacific. But more and more groups are now concerned about the impact to Canada's pristine west coast. Christian Yeo reports.
British Columbians love the outdoors. Who can blame them? These majestic mountains and emerald waters are a sight to behold. But Canada's west coast is in the throes of an energy export revolution. At its heart, natural gas converted to liquid. It's known as LNG, and British Columbia is hoping to ship it in massive quantities to China and her neighbours. An hour's journey north of Vancouver in Squamish is the site of a former wood pulp mill. Its Singapore owners hope to build an LNG plant. If approved, it'd be one of the first in Canada to start sending gas to Asia.
We're looking at Japan, South Korea, Taiwan and China. We're talking to potential buyers in each of those markets.
With the US ramping up its own LNG production, demand for gas in Asia is stronger than in North America, and the price is 3 times higher.
This seems like quite a vast site, and it's projected to produce around 2 million tonnes of LNG each year if it's approved. But in the grand scheme of things, this is one of the smaller projects planned for the Canadian West Coast.
Some of them could export 10 times that amount. There are 16 proposed LNG plants awaiting approval across BC. The government here has staked its political future on the revenues this gas boom could bring. $100 billion over 30 years, claims one report. But what do the nature-loving people of British Columbia think?
You have to think of long term. You can't just think of a quick buck and something that's going to make a lot of people or a few people a lot of money over a short period of time. They make their money, they go away. The impact's left for how many decades later?
There's always something leaks, something contaminates the ground, something contaminates the air, something always contaminates the water. No matter how safe they say it is, it never is.
It was here 6 years ago that North America's first carbon tax on gasoline was implemented, solidifying BC as a world leader in environmental policy. Could that reputation now be at risk? Environmentalists warn that carbon emissions could double as a result of LNG, turning it into one of the most polluted provinces in Canada.
The province really did take a leading global position on climate change policy and climate action back in sort of 2007 through 2009 with policies such as the ban on coal-fired power plants, the carbon tax, carbon neutral government, a number of pieces there. And big questions remain as to what the carbon policy around LNG is going to look like.
Holding many of the cards are Canada's First Nations, or natives, who lay claim to much of the land in British Columbia. Several LNG projects need their support if they're to avoid years of legal challenges.
Broadly speaking, First Nations along the west coast, be it in Kitimat or Prince Rupert or down here, have taken an open-minded approach to natural gas. They have concerns certainly with oil and oil exports, but that's a different product.
But it's the philosophy of natives to think more about the long term, and any negotiations about LNG are unlikely to be rushed.
Even to this day, our people still hunt and fish and trap on the land, and they depend on it for their food every day. What meat or fish they take from the land is what feeds our communities. And if that stands to be jeopardized, our people will say no.
As the frontier between North America and Asia, British Columbia is Canada's gateway to a gas boom. Many here are watching developments closely, making sure that any environmental pledges to protect this beautiful province are more than just hot air. Christian Yeo, CCTV, British Columbia.